Obviously, the most exciting time you have as a coach program to open the season, and we're fortunate to have the weather outlook that we have. I know Sunday's a little rough, but to have 70-degree temperatures, so fortunate. And there's a lot of people that have battled the temperatures in the snow, and I know JMU has had a difficult time with that. And my son coaches at NC State. I get the blow-by-blow for what they've dealt with the winter storm. So I think JMU had ice on their field January 24th through basically this week. So they've had a challenge. I've known Ike for the better part of 25, 30 years. They put their team in position to play in these environments every year in some form or fashion. They were in a regional a couple years ago. I believe that was at NC State. So they're seasoned. That's an action-oriented team. They provide a lot of pressure with their offense. And their roster, like ours, there's transition and it's new. They have some good pieces. I think the middle of their field returns. They're well coached. Ike does a great job preparing the team, and there'll be a challenge. And they have had a distinct personality. I think they had 111 stolen base attempts last year. That's a lot of running. In the short game and the running, we've tried to prepare our team holistically for that, and you step right into a confrontation with a team that's very good at it. I like where we are. You get to a roadblock in the process of you have to play some other teams, and that is here. We need that. The inter squads and the practice and the reps and the work and the bullpens and the scrimmage and the cage and the bunting, you have to try to apply these things in game. And I feel good. I have some concerns overall about the club, but we need to address that in the heat of the moment out here, and we need to play. We need to compete. We need to evaluate, and then we need to adjust from the good and bad as we go through these innings and games. And I think our pitching overall is in pretty good shape. Mike and I have talked a lot about the ramp up and the pitch count and the build up process for these guys, and we've gone slower and longer, and we're not going to try to push the envelope too far. We'll throw Mendes on Friday and Beard on Saturday and Bryson Moore on Sunday. We're not going to push this thing too far. It's been a slow build up. We're not going to ask too much of them. I think our bullpen leverage guys. Everything in college baseball is a leverage bullpen moment. It is. There's ramifications for every pitch. In that inning, in that game, the following week, everything is leverage. So all of our other pitchers that are not starters are in a leverage role, and I think we're in good shape. Our bullpen on the right side of things, I think we're a little deeper than we are on the left with Whited and Meeble. We're grooming Manka to start on Tuesday. We all know if you look start to finish at the Tuesday games, this thing is very difficult. And if he can grow into that role and shorten the back of those games for us on Tuesdays, it helps that schedule, and it also sets you up for a more efficient weekend. I like where we are. I'm not solidified in some things that I'm going to do with the actual lineup, but I do like where this thing is headed. I do feel like we're fairly athletic. I feel like we have some depth in areas. We do have some questions in areas. The middle infield, as we've discussed, was as clean as anything I'd seen at this level, and replacing that, having the same feel to support the pitchers, to turn double plays, to run the game in the middle. We've got to see what that looks like on the field in competition. I think our catchers, thank goodness, we got a little banged up Tuesday in a 5-inning scrimmage, but I think we're okay there. And then we have plenty of outfield athleticism and depth, no matter where you slice it. I think we have 3 guys that can and will play center field in some form or fashion, and you can do that, then you have good options in the rest of the space in the outfield. So all in all, I think we're on schedule. The rest of this needs to be answered and evaluated against the outside competition, and that time has come.
Is the intention for Cal Fisher to be your shortstop, and if so, what did he do to show that he's ready for that?
Yeah, he's going to play shortstop, and he has been very consistent. I think his knowledge of what we're doing systematically helps that. His throwing accuracy stands out to me. I think that was something we saw at a low D. So you need to handle the ground ball, but you also have to be very accurate with the throw, and I've seen him do that. He's got a knack for the double play feed and pivot at that position, and he's solidified himself to have the opportunity to play short tomorrow.
You talked a little about Peyton Manka starting on Tuesday. Do you see yourself starting more bullpen pitchers during the midweek to kind of get them reps starting?
Ideally, when you have the Wednesdays, I think there may be a couple weeks where we have Tuesday, Wednesday. Somebody's going to have to start it. But if Manka can take that thing and extend those Tuesdays, it makes life a lot easier in the back end of the Tuesday game and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so you're not running the relievers out as often for as long. And the workload of the starting pitcher, this is a debate we have, is the workload on a starting pitcher who throws 70 to 110 pitches once a week, is that harder on the arm and the player than the relief pitcher that makes 25 or 30 appearances between 2 to 3 outs and 3 or 4 innings? So that's a constant give and take that we have to figure out. But right now, we would like for Manka to take that Tuesday and grow into that and be just as effective as the weekend guys that are starting to shorten the game. Then your bullpen outings are not as long. They might not be as frequent, and I think that guards you for the long run on the back end of the season.
You talked about West getting the opening day nod, just the stuff that he's done in the offseason, adding to his pitch mix, and just kind of the confidence he's been playing with. What have you seen from him, especially going into Friday?
The pitch mix is noticeable. He's got multiple breaking pitches. The changeup has always been very good. The fastball life has always been very good. His continued growth and additional success will come from repeatability. Can we repeat the mechanics and execute pitches? And in his case, sometimes it's getting the ball to his glove side, which would be in on a right-handed hitter away from a lefty. Usually when you can hit that release point, everything else can play off of that. And it intersects with the hitting zone at some point when you can get the ball to your glove side as a lefty over there. That's the next move. When he can do that, I think everything will click. If we're driving pitch counts up and we have big non-effective misses, then that pitch count, all of a sudden, it grows on you and you look up and you're in the 3rd or 4th inning and that pitch count represents we should really be in the 6th. So all the stuff is there and the stuff has improved. And the data that we get, the metrics on every pitch will tell you that. He's got to stay focused and in his mechanics and finish these pitches and allow the pitch count to stay on schedule.
You talked about Kyle, I guess. Do you have an idea going in how the rest of the middle infield is going to start? And it seems like you're not lacking options. I guess how good a thing is it that it seems like non-con can kind of be some tinkering and giving guys shots and seeing who takes advantage of that?
Yeah, I'm not there. I know that sounds crazy. I have some options, and I'm getting through today, and I'm gonna figure it out. Estes has done a nice job. Frazier is very talented and athletic. He's shown flashes. Putnam has done a good job. McCulley has been good at 3rd. Sheffield is in the mix. I asked my assistant coaches, slap a lineup on my desk. So I have 4 lineups, and you know what they are? They're 4 different ones. So as much as you watch and see this, I'll get to the point where we put these guys in the starting gates and the horses are going to run, and I'll figure it out. I do like the group as a whole in the infield. And again, I think when I talk about the center fielder profile in the outfield, the middle infield profile or the shortstop profile in the infield allows you to have a lot of options. And Estes and Frazier do give you left-handed bats, which we need. Both of them, the short game should be in play. So I would like to have one of those guys in the lineup at second base.
I'm sure you've handled lineups in seasons differently throughout your career. Is there any benefit to having a group that maybe can be a little bit different during the course of a season as opposed to 9 guys locked in? Have you done it both ways, and are there any positives or negatives?
I think there's positives in having the variety. I think it keeps everybody engaged and involved. You have to have personnel that seems to fit that. I don't want to overcook an attempt to get everybody engaged and involved if it doesn't fit the situation or the game or the team success. So I do like that. And when you're athletic, you have pinch run options and you have matchup options. And I need to do a better job of keeping the catchers healthy. And we have some depth there, and you have guys that can run that are not on the field starting the game at the right time to think about pinch running for some of your catchers and get somebody else in and take advantage of base running opportunities. I would like to be able to do that. I do need to see what this feels like when we play. You can you can coach this and project and predict, and sometimes it's hard until you've had consistent outside games to really gauge what seems right. But I would like to have guys involved. I really would. It's better for the program. Everybody's on edge and ready to play when they show up at the stadium. And when you're playing hopefully 70 games, it does keep people fresh. And I would like to do that. I can't force that, but I would like to do it. And then within the lineup, how you stack and bunch things, we know Myles. We need to figure out where that fits and what works best around it. I have enjoyed grouping my runners together. So there's, within a lineup, do you have two different lineups where part of it, there's not maybe as much action and you let guys do their thing? And then there might be part of the lineup where the playbook is completely wide open. And if you can stack some of that, I think it creates more opportunities and threats and more comfort in managing the game. I do think we have that situation. I recognize the blood, sweat, equity that some of these guys have built up in their time here. And we're not talking about, 6 seniors on a team, but there have been some guys that have gone through these battles and have been in the program and have waited to play. I have to assess that a little bit too in giving people opportunities.
You spoke about concerns. I presume emotional response in real time is one of those that
You
just
got
want
it.
to see how it plays out.
Yes, 100%. And the maturity and the excitement, the emotion of it is a positive to see. The emotional boiling point response is tough. The difference in this sport is the frequency with which we play. You're talking 4 nights a week, in some cases 5. Some of these things get bunched up on you. The calls don't always go your way. The outcome doesn't always go your way. The crowd's not always for you. There's some things we need to unpack and grow emotionally and learn how to stay on the rails. But this team, I can tell, and last year, they're excitable. They want to perform. They want to perform for the team, the program, the fans, the community, and they also have individual careers riding on this. So the stakes are very high in every aspect of what we're doing. So I think that does bring some emotion and excitement and intensity to it. But there has to be a balance, and the appropriate response has to keep you on track. It has to fuel you for the next pitch. It can't frustrate you to the point of lack of focus or engagement.
You've been talking about the catcher's health throughout the lead up here to the start of the opening of the season. Hunter and Nate, are they good to go? Do you have to manage their innings? They're back-to-back. Could one DH, for example, if maybe not catch?
Yes, they could. And to have a bunch of consecutive 9-inning scrimmages, we haven't really had that. Like, you don't have the pitching to stretch out like multiple days of 9-inning games. So I feel like their legs are under them, and I think everybody could probably go catch 9 innings. Now, to come back the next day and do it again, and to do it a third day and then do it on Tuesday, that's where we have to involve guys. And we took 2 foul balls. Well, we had a cross-up and a foul ball almost in consecutive pitches Tuesday night, and you could have heard a pin drop in the place because Carnes took one off the hand and Caden Fromelt took one off the hand. They're okay, but Tuesday night, we wanted to practice at night. That was a night practice, and all of the bullpen operation was in the visitors' bullpen. We wanted to get out of the confines of right field. So we had a good plan drawn up, and then I walked out of there Tuesday night, wanted to throw up in the bushes on the way to the car because you're like, did we just lose 2 catchers? And they're fine. We found out yesterday they're fine, but nobody was fine Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
You talked a little about having 4 different lineups right now. Your assistant coaches did that. Are you looking, as this weekend is more experimental, what kind of specific things are you looking for? Are you wanting things to be solidified going to Arlington?
Yes, but I know that's probably unrealistic. If we rewind the tape and look at this conversation last year, did the lineup and things end the way they started? Myles is probably a good example. Like 2 or 3 weeks into this thing, Myles' freshman year, like that was tricky. By the end of the year, totally different conversation, and that's just one example. You're going to see people grow and thrive in the heat of competition, and I just don't know. It's impossible to know right now. So some of the guys that are out there are going to have earned this opportunity, and we'll pivot. And when we get to Jacksonville on Tuesday, and then when we get to Arlington on Friday, each one of these is its own individual battle. And I really have to keep that in mind and feel what I feel tomorrow, and then prepare for Saturday and feel what we feel there. And the ebbs and flows of it talks to us as coaches, and it probably talks to you as you cover the team, what feels right and what looks right. And it may be different once you get into the innings and the competition and the emotion. It may be different. So I have to understand that and not force one way or another. You have to try to coach this thing with some feel to the best of your ability.
Last year, to have the three lefties in the weekend rotation, this year two and one, I guess you could have lined it up left, right, left, maybe switch things up a little, but to lead with the two lefties, is that just two guys who separated themselves? And I guess how have you seen Trey, a guy who's played a decent amount of college baseball, kind of adapt to the jump to kind of the top level of college baseball?
Well, he's got some exceptional pitches, and when you watch the command, there was probably one inning that I recall where he wasn't really on the screws with the stuff, and that changeup is spectacular. And I say that. Am I giving a scouting report? Everybody we play is going to be able to dive into this and know it's exceptional. And one of the keys to this is that you have a plus secondary pitch that you can command and that you know how to use when you have opportunities to finish hitters and get strikeouts. He has done that. He seems to have poise. He understands himself. He understands the things going on around him in the game. So I don't see any issue with pivoting into this environment pitching. Like he's seasoned. He's been there and done it. I don't think the stadium or where we go is going to affect him. The makeup is on point from what I've seen, and he will pitch in some environments that are clearly different, and all of our guys will experience that. I don't have a concern.
You've mentioned John Stutzer and Polino a lot this year, two freshmen who are kind of advanced at the plate. You maybe hope opening weekend and through the first month or so of the season to maybe rotate them in, whether it's just DHing, just get at bats. What's the plan with them?
100%. They need to be involved. They need to be involved. Like these guys, what we saw fall in preseason, that's one part of it. And then in the season, that body of work and their growth, we have to try to incorporate those guys. And I'm not ruling this out for tomorrow either. They're going to be involved. They're different athletes, different profiles. Stutzer can pinch run. He's one of the faster guys I've ever coached, and you can use him in a lot of different areas. He could go to center field, corners. I think he's functional at second base, and we've bounced him around a little bit. So they've been more consistent with the bat. Fall to today, when you look at it, they've been really effective and dangerous, and they're talented. Different. Now, Polino's not the runner that Stutzer is. Polino, very good barrel-to-ball skill to all fields. Like that guy bangs balls in the right center, the left field corner, left center field, through the middle. It's an advanced freshman approach at the plate. And Stutzer's one of the more talented kids I've ever seen.
I think every player at every level, like opening day, is different. As the manager and with all the things you have on your mind, like what are opening days like for you?
Nervous. Like you're excited, you're nervous for the operation to go right. You know, you have expectations. I want the stadium, the facility, I want the experience for the fans. I want all that to be right. And you've worked very, very, very hard evaluating players, recruiting players, countless visits, all the discussions, all of the mechanics involved in recruiting and building the roster, and then player development and then program development. And we've asked people to give money to help us clean things up in the stadium, and we're doing that. So you're nervous and excited. You want it to go right. Like I feel similar to how I did when I was a player, but you're looking at the totality of the operation because I do feel responsible for all of that. And I think we're in a pretty good place. On the field, we have to go do it, but I think when we open these things up, we've never had the marching chiefs on the field pregame. They'll be on the field. They'll march in. The whole group will be on the field. We're doing some cool things, and it's not easy. You have to have cooperation and alignment and planning to try to get some of these things I do feel responsible for the game day experience overall. Now, a big part of that is if you put a winning product on the field, that helps the game day experience. I get that, and I'm more responsible for that than anything. But this is home for me, and I want the people that show up 40 times to love what they see and what it's like to get in, and their ticketing and their seating, and is it clean? Does a concession stand offer you opportunities? So these people keep coming back. You know, football plays 6 or 7 home games, and basketball doesn't play as many as we do, and softball's probably in the only bucket. So I'm looking at the entirety of the operation, knowing that the crux of it is on the field, but I can't just look at that. There's periods of time in the year where I'm trying to build and improve the experience for the people that support us.
A couple weeks ago, you mentioned last year with your rotation, correct me if I'm wrong, Mendes and Vellini maybe being a little too similar to more than you'd like. What about Wes and Trey do you like that's different about them to start them back to back?
Well, it's a different arm slot. They both have good changeups, totally different changeups. Mendes' cutter has evolved into a really, really good pitch. Like it's a good cutter. So they are left-handed. You would rather split it up, but it's not so similar that it scares me in any way. I don't mind it, and that's what we're doing this weekend, and we'll see what it looks like. I will say our bullpen is maybe a little more right-handed. So this thing's probably going to end with right-handed pitchers involved before they get to see the next lefty. So you're not just going from left-handed starter to left-handed starter. Now, if we start rolling complete games at you and we're just running those two out and we get to Sunday and then that's just probably not realistic. There's going to be a lot of different righties in between those two just because of the nature of the bullpen.
Coach, you've obviously got Chase back and healthy. You mentioned Stutzer's athletic ability. With as much power that's in this lineup, how important is it going to be to leverage as much speed as you have on this roster as well?
The variety of the athleticism in the lineup, I think, is the key to the whole thing. Frazier can fly. Williams can fly. Stutzer can fly. DeLamalure can run. McCulley can run. We've got some pieces that need to be able to do that because there are days the power may not be the ticket. And I do like our power. How does it play out statistically when we get to the end of this thing? Are we going to hit 100 home runs, 120, 30? Are we going to hit 70? I don't know. But the run game threat thrown into that equation, there needs to be uncomfort in some form or fashion for the opponent with the lineup. You have to have talent to do that. Talent could be in the form of power. It could be bat to ball. And clearly the speed needs to be a factor. And I think we have it. Now, that personnel being in the game and how we bunch it up, that affects the running. If I can figure out the right way to stack some of those runners, that would be how I would draw it up. I just have to feel what I see in the games from some of the guys before I can pinpoint where that needs to be in the lineup and how it looks night in and night out.
Any other questions? Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Good?
Hey, Myles. You played a lot of baseball in your life, but opening day, is it still special? Do you still get kind of nerves even after what you accomplished last year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with all the anticipated build-up like that, it's definitely got some nerves and anticipation going into it.
How important is it when you guys, obviously college athletics now, the roster turnover is just every year. How important is opening weekend for you guys to get some reps against another team and some continuity to build?
Yeah, I mean, it's super important to know what we have and know how we're going to come out and compete against other teams. So we've been doing it against ourselves for the past 2-3 months. So to get in here and play against somebody else and show what we got, it's going to be fun.
Link spoke about Cal being shortstop and specifically pointed out his throwing accuracy. As a guy receiving those throws, what impresses you about Cal at short?
Yeah, I mean, I love everything about Kyle. He's my guy, and was great at third last year, and to be able to go over the short and do what he's doing this year, it's awesome. And he makes all the plays that he can, and the throws are, I mean, it's super easy for me. I just got to kind of just stand there and catch it.
You look at your first half and second half of the seasons last year, different results, obviously. Was there something you felt that clicked, or was it just kind of a gradual working your way into it?
I think it's kind of, I think it was kind of both. I think obviously the more reps I got better, but I think also I worked on a couple of things, and there was things that clicked, and I had to change my approach in my at-bats and change how I was approaching the game, and then to do better.
Obviously, you made a big impact in your freshman season. You guys have a couple of freshmen this year, Stutzer, Polino, who probably are going to get some time on the field. Have you been able to kind of talk with them and maybe give them some advice on like the college game and the ebbs and flows of what the season is like?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, those guys they're way more advanced than I was at this time last year, so they don't really need as much as I did or I would. I mean, those guys are. Awesome. Thank you, Myles. Thank you.
Wes, what does it mean for you to get the ball first on Friday, and also just talk about how you worked on trying to be more consistent, more reliable pitch to pitch?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to have the trust of coach to go out there Friday night, get the series started, get the team going to start the year, start the series. It's awesome. That was a big thing for me this summer, was working on consistency, staying consistent, because last year I felt like it was very up and down. I had these peaks and valleys. This year it's more just about trying to be my average self at all times. Just take it pitch by pitch. You're just throwing a ball to catcher at the end of the day, like I've done a million times in my life. So.
Last year you were on Sunday, and most weekends you're either trying to wrap up a sweep or wrap up a series win. Now you get the ball on Friday. Does that change anything for you mentally, knowing that you're going out there and it's your job to get the team off to a good start?
Yeah, honestly, not really. At the end of the day, like I just said, I'm throwing the ball to the catcher, 60 feet, 6 inches. I've done it my whole life. It's nothing new. You don't really try to change too much. Just go out there, be myself. You want to set the tone, of course, but no, I'm not really trying to do too much. Don't make too much of it. Just be myself.
Your pitch mix, I mean, over the offseason, what'd you work on? Did you add something, and just how comfortable are you feeling with it?
Yeah, for sure. I added a cutter, and I think that's going to be huge for me this year. It's a pitch where I can just throw it, like 2-0 or even 0-0, anything like that, if I'm behind or just middle of the count, whenever. It gets some weak contact. It's kind of a pitch for me that, I didn't really have last year. I didn't really have a pitch that I could just throw in the zone and get some weak contact. I felt like all my pitches last year, kind of swing and miss pitches. So like my pitch count would kind of get up there. So at times, and then it's just gonna be huge for me this year. Change up, just kind of refined it. Last year, I felt like at times I kind of gave it away with my arm slot, kind of slowing down my hand. So that's something I kind of worked on too, just keeping that same arm speed, keeping the same release height too. So.
Just coming in last year, I'm sure you had high expectations for yourself, but I don't know if you felt that on the outside. But now that there are people know what you can do. Does that change anything at all? Is it how do you handle that?
Yeah, it doesn't really change much. I always have high expectations for myself, high expectations for this team. At the end of the day, we're just trying to go out and win. And if I do my job, that's what we're going to do. So not too much changed. It just stays the same goal as always, win.
Any other questions for Wes? Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Wes.
How are you feeling physically? Obviously, you were here over summer, working on yourself physically. How do you feel?
I feel great. I was working with our strength coach this whole summer, just trying to put on muscle, and so my body doesn't have as much wear and tear as the season goes on, and I can be my best, when we're in June playing for Omaha and getting into the College World Series.
And just any developments you made to your arsenal over the offseason, how comfortable are you feeling up there on the mound? Just where are you at there?
Well, yeah, this is my third year here, and I have two years of experience in the ACC, which is great. This offseason I added a new sinker and a cutter, so just having two different fastball variations, I think is going to help me a lot this year, and it's going to be a weapon that I'm going to definitely go to a lot this year.
Your breaking ball is such a weapon for you. How have you worked with Mike on trying to be more consistent pitch to pitch with that specific pitch?
Yeah, just when I'm able to land it in the zone for a strike and throw it out of the zone when I need to is just what I've been really dialed in on this year. When I have that, I'm very unhittable, and I just needed to be able to execute and have consistency throughout the season. I think that's going to create a lot of success for me.
When you're coming out of the bullpen, Link talked about just the leverage situations that you guys find yourself in. Is that something that you kind of enjoy? Is that something that maybe puts a little extra behind a fastball because you have some adrenaline pumping for you?
Yeah, I mean, the late innings in Hauser is definitely something you want to experience. The fans are going crazy, so you definitely experience a lot of adrenaline, and I love it, man. Like, it's what I live for. It's why I'm here. It's the main reason I came back.
Being your third year here, Link kind of talked about that he doesn't really decide leaders, that what kind of goes on in the locker room kind of shows up on its own. Who do you think kind of has been a voice? Obviously, you're here for 3 years now. You have a lot of transfers, some great freshmen, but who's kind of been like a voice? Who's going to be kind of the leader this season?
My guy, Ben Barrett, this is his 4th year here, and he knows the program better inside out than some of our coaches, you know? So, I mean, he's going to be one of our guys this year, and I'm looking forward to see what he does with our team in the locker room and on the field.
Just as close as you guys have gotten, you know, the last couple of years to, you know, winning championships and that type of thing, what's the motivation been like this season? I know it's a new team and some new players that haven't probably been at this level, but kind of what's been the mindset?
Well, just having some camaraderie around the team. Half our team is new, but we all are striving for the same goal. And Link always talks about how we have all those banners on right field fence, but we don't have a national championship banner, and that's what means a lot to him and everyone in this program. And I think we're all striving for the same goal.
Any other questions for John? Great, thank you, John.
Thank you, guys.